Some countries impress you, others surprise you. Slovenia does something rarer. It feels almost unreal. A lake with an island church, alpine peaks rising over emerald rivers, castles on cliffs, villages that look painted into the mountains. And somehow, most travelers still overlook it. This isn't just another European destination. This is a country that makes you question what you thought you knew about travel. Slovenia may be small, but it feels impossibly varied. Fairy tale lakes, wild alpine scenery, medieval towns, underground wonders, and landscapes many people mistake for Switzerland. Except here, the crowds are thinner. The experiences feel more intimate. The magic feels more accessible. If you love discovering extraordinary places, subscribe. There's much more ahead. Lake Bled. Start with Lake Bled. And suddenly, you understand the obsession. An emerald lake, a tiny island church, a medieval castle perched high above the water. It doesn't look real. It looks imagined, like something lifted from a storybook and placed into the Slovenian Alps. At sunrise, the lake feels almost still enough to dream inside. The water mirrors the surrounding mountains perfectly. The island church sits in the center like a jewel. And this is where many travelers fall in love with Slovenia. Immediately, walk the shoreline path, rent a traditional pletna boat, climb to the castle for views that stretch across the entire valley, or simply sit at a lakeside cafe and watch the light change, because Bled has this rare quality. It rewards both adventure and stillness. You can hike the surrounding hills, or you can simply be present beside the water. Either way, you'll understand why this place captivates millions. But Bled is only the beginning. And what comes next might surprise you even more. Julian Alps. Head into the Julian Alps, and everything grows wilder. Jagged peaks. Alpine meadows dotted with wooden chalets. Villages where life moves at mountain pace. Roads winding through mountain passes that feel dramatic and ancient. Now Slovenia feels epic, not delicate. Epic. This is where you discover the country's rugged soul. The trails here lead through landscapes that rival anywhere in the Alps. Deep valleys carved by glaciers. High passes where chamois roam freely. Mountain huts serving hearty meals after long hikes. And places like Triglav National Park make you wonder why this country isn't talked about more. Triglav is Slovenia's only national park, but it contains enough beauty for 10 countries. Waterfalls cascading through gorges, lakes hidden in mountain bowls, peaks that challenge serious climbers and reward casual hikers. This is Slovenia at its most powerful, most untamed, most unforgettable. But Slovenia hides another kind of beauty, one that feels almost otherworldly. Soča Valley. Then you reach the Soča River. And the color almost doesn't look possible. Turquoise. Glacial. Almost glowing. Running through deep green valleys carved over millennia. This is one of Europe's most beautiful rivers, and somehow still underrated. It feels untouched. Wild. Pure. The kind of place that makes you stop and simply stare. Because water shouldn't look like this. This vivid. This impossibly clear. You can see every stone on the river, every ripple in the current, every shade of blue and green mixing in the flow. The Soča Valley isn't just scenic, it's transformative. Walk the trails that follow its course. Cross suspension bridges hanging above the rapids. Visit the gorges where the river narrows into thundering channels. Or try rafting, kayaking, or simply sitting riverside with nothing but time. And this is where Slovenia starts feeling magical. Not in a gentle storybook way, but in a raw, elemental, deeply moving way. Quick question. Would you rather visit Lake Bled or explore the Soča Valley? Tell me in the comments, because honestly, both feel essential. But Slovenia still has a side few travelers expect. One that's quieter, more refined, yet equally memorable. Ljubljana. Then there's Ljubljana. And somehow, Slovenia changes again. Now it feels elegant. A riverside capital with bridges, cafes, and castle views. Small enough to feel intimate, beautiful enough to feel memorable. Walk through the old town, and you'll notice something rare. No cars. Just cobblestones, cyclists, and riverside terraces. The Ljubljanica River winds through the center, lined with Art Nouveau buildings and willow trees. Dragon Bridge stands guard at one end. The castle overlooks everything from its hilltop perch. It doesn't shout, it charms. And many visitors end up loving the city far more than expected, because Ljubljana feels livable. Not just tourist-friendly, but genuinely livable. You can imagine mornings here, coffee at a riverside cafe, browsing the central market, climbing to the castle for sunset, dinners that stretch late into warm evenings. This is a capital that hasn't been ruined by its own success. It remains human-scaled, walkable, welcoming, real. But Slovenia also hides wonders underground, literal wonders beneath the earth, caves and castles. Then there's Postojna Cave, an underground world of vast chambers and rivers, one of the largest cave systems in Europe, where electric trains carry visitors deep into the earth, through tunnels that feel ancient and alien, past stalactites and stalagmites formed over millions of years. Chambers so large they could hold cathedrals, rivers flowing silently in the darkness, and unique creatures found nowhere else on Earth. This isn't just a cave, it's an entire subterranean universe. And Predjama Castle, built into a cliff face like something from a legend, a fortress wedged into the mouth of a cave, half built by humans, half carved by nature, looking impossibly dramatic against the limestone wall. At this point, Slovenia starts feeling impossible. How can one country have all of this? Mountains that rival the Swiss Alps, lakes that look photoshopped, castles built into cliffs, caves vast enough to explore by train, and somehow still feel undiscovered. This is the paradox of Slovenia. It offers world-class experiences without world-class crowds. And then there's something travelers always remember, something intangible but essential. Food plus culture. The alpine villages where time moves differently. Farm-to-table food that tastes like it came from the garden this morning. Mountain cheeses aged in wooden cellars. Riverside cafes where locals still gather for hours. Wine country producing bottles few outsiders have heard of. And a pace of life that feels calm, balanced, human. Slovenia isn't trying to be a theme park. It's simply being itself. And that authenticity shows everywhere. In the family-run Kastilnas serving traditional struclogy. In the vineyards of the Vipava Valley. In the mountain huts where hikers share tables and stories. In the markets selling local honey, cheese, and produce. There's something deeply peaceful about Slovenia. A sense that life here hasn't been sacrificed for tourism. That growth hasn't meant losing soul. And visitors often remember that as much as the scenery. Because ultimately, places aren't just about what you see. They're about how you feel. And Slovenia makes you feel something rare. Welcomed, unhurried, present. So what makes Slovenia unforgettable? What turns a small alpine country into a revelation? It's the contrast. Fairy tale lakes that look painted. Wild mountains that test your limits. Turquoise rivers that defy belief. Storybook cities that feel genuinely lived in. Hidden caves that transport you to another world. All inside a country many travelers barely consider. A country that doesn't demand attention, but absolutely deserves it. But once you see Slovenia, it doesn't feel hidden. It feels like one of Europe's great wonders. Quietly magnificent, effortlessly diverse, surprisingly accessible. And maybe, its most surprising fairy tale. The kind of place that makes you rethink your entire travel list. The kind that makes you question why you waited so long. The kind that stays with you long after you've left. Because Slovenia isn't just another European destination. It's a reminder that the best places aren't always the most famous. Sometimes they're the ones waiting just beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered, waiting to surprise you, waiting to feel almost unreal. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe for more places like this. And tell me, what part of Slovenia would you want to experience most? The alpine peaks, the emerald rivers, the underground caves, or the quiet magic of Ljubljana? Leave your answer below, because Slovenia is waiting, and it's more extraordinary than you imagine.